Right, click the links, join the channel here over at SubScribeStar, now over at Odyssey. Thanks to everyone over there. So our girl, Candace Owens versus Ben Shapiro, Greenblatt over at the ADL, Rabbi Shmuley, and his daughter who have like a sex store. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there is, but it's weird. It's like you and your daughter are in business together. That's pretty weird. And even if it was behind the scenes, that would be one thing, but it's not. It's not. You're like the public face of selling butt plugs with your daughter. That's pretty friggin' weird. It's even weirder that you're not aware of the optics of it, that other people look at you and think it's weird. He appears to have a screw loose, like a legitimate screw loose. Now, here's the thing. Candace Owens is great. I like her. She's going in the right direction, but I trust her or Rabbi Shmuley as far as I can throw either one of them. They're public figures. Don't trust anyone who's in the public. Now, I will say there's that adage of if you're over target, you're getting flack. That's true. That's of Occam's razor is true, and Candace Owens is starting to get over target because she's getting that anti-aircraft fire. So even though she might have had kind of a weird beginning, like when she was in her 20s, to be fair, she's going in the right direction now. So I think her star is on the rise. And Daily Wire's star is a little bit on the decline. Don't get me wrong; it's probably a $250 million company. Like learning with Steven Crowder behind the scenes and learning what kind of money Daily Wire, they were going to pay him like $13 million a year or something for some contract. And you learn what kind of money these YouTube networks are worth, and it's not MSNBC money, but it's not nothing. Like to run a Steven Crowder show for over $10 million a year, it's like that's pretty respectable. So our girl Candace Owens, and I just saw like one of the. I read all these ADL websites, and they like have a list of hate symbols and hate phrases, and that phrase our person is a hate symbol for some reason, but their definitions for all this kind of stuff are really amorphous. Like they said, 420 is a hate symbol. Most people, if you even care what that number means, you think, oh, well, April 20th. When we were kids, it was just like a marijuana holiday. It was a day you got high on 420 because I think I don't know. There's all kind of weird theories on it. They go, no, it's actually the Austrian corporal's birthday. You think like, who knows that? But you weirdos at the SPLC, ACLU, and ADL who appear like also to be mentally ill. Like a lot of these people, the more you look into this Rabbi Shmuley guy, and he's got these videos on Twitter. Like I think part of it is he's addicted to being a public figure. True. But a lot of these people are just not playing with a full deck. I mean, like a lot of these type A driven people who are very successful, a lot of them have sociopathic tendencies. And, people like Candace Owens because she's going in the right direction. But, either one of these people, it's like you don't really know these people unless you actually sit down and talk to them. Anyway, so to understand this whole thing, you have to start with the idea of con ops. And the other thing is when you give people a shield where they can call you istophobic in some capacity, then they're not likely to engage in the argument in good faith. They'll just raise that shield because they're not really arguing with you. They're arguing before the public. So like they've been with this stuff with, Palestine in the news now, and like any criticism of the wrong side, you just get called istophobic and they never have to actually engage and think. And it's like, those concepts have like in the past 100 years, all these kind of concepts, these istophobic concepts, these labels have become popular. I think like Trotsky or Bernstein popularized one of them. I don't know if he created it, but he popularized it. And it's a great shield from behind that you can do really nefarious, horrible things because you essentially use this stochastic defamation because you label somebody something and then you have it's a signal to the media to go and destroy this person's life. So people can't have that open marketplace of ideas because you get labeled, istophobic one of these people, and it's like blood in the water for sharks. So the idea of con ops is that the masters will allow the right wing to exist in some capacity, but it's got to be controlled and limited by them. And this is where the Daily Wire, the Gateway Pundit, Post Millennial, PragerU, the Blaze, the Rebel media, and there's like a dozen of these in quotes right-wing media, but I consider them the penultimate media because they're never over target. The sites that are over target, and there's a bunch online. They've got like national in the title or something like that, and they're right wing, but they don't get advertisements. So they're free to say, like information liberation is kind of a new one, and it covers topics pretty honestly. but they don't get advertisements, and that's a good sign. If you have a platform, if you have an app and it's not allowed on the Google or Apple App Store, that's you're going in the right direction, because those people can control so much. So this is where if you look at those kind of Daily Wire, PragerU type of websites, they're everything is fake and lighthearted and frivolous. That's what those sites are. And to know how fake things are, they have such total control of our language that they brainwashed us to self-censor. And most people either don't know how to do it or they think it's a good idea. And what I mean, I say these words istophobic. It means like, racist, sexist, that kind of stuff. Where if you got into a discussion with somebody and you go, okay, if you couldn't use those words in the discussion, could you have the discussion? And a lot of these people are unable to do that because it's like a conversational shorthand for them. Except it's a cognitive an argumentative shorthand where they never have to actually carry the argument out to its logical conclusion, because they just say, "Oh, you're being istophobic against me." It's like, but that's not an argument. But it doesn't have to be, because it's not a court; it's a court of public opinions. So people are not dumb. It's more that they don't want to make waves, and a lot of people don't want to do a whole lot of deep thinking and break outside of the matrix with things. And that's what Shapiro is for. He's to keep you in the matrix, within this narrow spectrum of left-wing parameters or right-wing parameters, and to keep you locked in there. And if you start to go outside of it, you'll get this passive-aggressive threatening. You'll get this warning like, oh, you don't want to be istophobic, are you? That's what the gateway pundit type of media is for. The thing is, this a lot of this kind of stuff not making waves only works in a homogenous, high trust society, not in this current Weimar level commercial zone that is America. All the mainstream media, if you've heard of it, if they have advertisements, if it's widely available, then it's going to be very tightly controlled by these puppet masters. That's why the banks, the financial services, the web hosting services allow them to do business. There is an alternative media, but the masters don't allow them to get advertisers, because the banks would just cancel the advertisers, or someone attached to their business would get canceled by the banks, and it would just be like, oh, well, you can't do business if you don't have an online payment. If MasterCard cancels you and they're one end of a crypto from going to crypto to cash, it's like you have to have, it's weird that our representatives don't protect the individual over the rights of these billion-dollar corporations. You look around, it's like, no, it's really not that weird once you kind of understand what's going on. So the entire MSN is controlled, so it stays within a limited spectrum. And anyone who goes out that spectrum, suddenly you don't have advertisements, payment processors. You're relying entirely on donations, and that's an uphill battle. And you're always going to be a small channel if you do that. That's why people say that things are wings of the same bird, and things just continue to get worse because people are expecting issues to be discussed honestly in the mainstream media. You sweet summer child. They're not discussed honestly in the mainstream media. Narratives are controlled online, and it's very profitable as long as people obey their masters. And you stay penultimate. You never go to the ultimate topics. And that was the thing with Crowder. It's like he was going to get paid over $10 million for his company as long as they. It's useless media, really, because it's like it's designed to get you to waste your time, get your emotions out, get worked up over things, think you have some kind of resolve, go to a Trump rally, but nothing ever gets done because you're not actually focused on anything real. Because you go, so you sit down with Shapiro on some kind of interview, and you go, so is everything on the table? Can we have free speech? Talk about everything? And you go, no, absolutely not. Are you crazy? That's not what the Daily Wire is in business for. Anyway, so Shapiro, who said he was always going to support free speech, has fired Candace Owens because apparently he couldn't handle her levels of free speech, which was very mild. You can listen to her on Twitter. She didn't say anything crazy. There's this, the conflict that's been going on for 4 months now. People are going to have a lot of different feelings on it one way or the other, and it's not black and white. There's different aspects of it that people agree to. And listen, both those, let me say this carefully, both those communities, when their lips are moving, they're lying. They both sides. They make these the most outrageous claims, and when you ask for evidence, they go, "Oh, that's Islamophobic." You go, "These claims are asinine. Like children would make these claims." And then you see that both sides are making these ridiculous claims. Anyway, the thing is, he wants the Daily Wire to be a controlled echo chamber, and I think the bloom is off the rose for a lot of people on the Daily Wire because a lot of people are looking at those kind of websites as just useless because they're never actually talking about anything real. And whenever something gets real and they think like, oh, we're, reasonable people can disagree without being disagreeable. We're all going to have this adult conversation. As soon as you get into politically incorrect territory, suddenly they go into ad hominem attacks and deflection. And it's like, what happened? We were just having a conversation like adults. And suddenly you get this passive aggressive threatening thing. It's like there's a clip of Ben Shapiro talking about if there's Islamophobic people on the right, then we need to dox them, get them fired, and destroy their lives. And people are watching Ben Shapiro and like, you're not on the right if you think that. Like we don't even want to focus on the concept. That's like something is. I think people are seeing that. Like people knew the media was dirty, but they always thought like I'm sure they thought that their right wing media was going to give them some kind of balance. And now they're learning, oh, it's really not. It's like, well, yeah, because it's in the mainstream. If it's got any kind of advertising on it, it's not over target. And the white pill is there is alternative media now, and stuff like Odyssey and Streamlabs and Entropy and all these kind of places where they're never going to be mainstream. In Odyssey live stream where there's a couple hundred people, even like Black Pill has got over 1,000 people on the various streams. Across platforms. That's not mainstream to have like 2,000 people on a live stream for sure. But those ideas nucleate and propagate out from there to the mainstream. It's kind of, you saw the things with like Comicsgate and Fandom Menace, where it was this relatively small group of people, but it had a disproportionate effect on the issue. Anyway, so people are looking at stuff like the Daily Wire and even the Guardian, and like they know there's because you read their social media footprint on Twitter, and they're so far left, or in the case of Daily Wire, they're so biased on some issues, like some things just cannot be brought up or it can only be interpreted one way. It's like, oh, we're all free speech, right? And they look at you like, not for like the BDS thing. That's not so much for that. Oh, what happened to free speech? It must be defended. Not for that issue. You can look that one up. Don't say anything in the comments. YouTube is very keen on hot words. Anyway, that's I think this is as careful as I can make this video. I think most of us are probably going to go on the side of probably going to follow Candace Owens. I mean, if you like Daily Wire, great, but probably people just don't get emotional involved in this. And if you view the Daily Wire, you're going to continue to view it, but you'll also follow Candace Owens wherever she goes. She go off on her own. And, the best thing would be is who's the guy, Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh. If they teamed up with her, and those guys are making millions of dollars, as is Candace Owens herself, but it just nowadays it just doesn't take that much to start a media company. If she's on her own is a star, and if she hooked up with Matt Walsh and that other guy, and you could start your own network very quickly, that would be a $200 million company just based on the names of Candace Owens and Matt Walsh. And I mean, you could team up with Alex Jones if you wanted. He's actually had some interesting things to say. Like he's started to criticize those he has previously not criticized, which is credit to him for that. Anyway, it's a real challenge to talk about this for YouTube because it's such a hot button issue with all these hot words and stuff. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks to everyone for their recent support, and I'll see you guys all next episode.